United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This time we'll move to silent reflection. Thank you. Move on to meeting of note. The boundary subcommittee will meet July 10th from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. in conference room A at the Educational Support Center. With that covered, we'll move on to approval of the agenda.
Mr. President, I move we approve the agenda following amendments. Additional certified classified personnel actions for consideration, item F.2. F, remove item F.4.d, adoption of the resolution rescinding policy actions found in the minutes of this Board of Education prior to June 30th, 2024, and adopt the board policy manual as presented and recommended by the superintendent of schools to govern USD-457 during the 2024-25 school year, subject to the periodic review, amendment, and revisions by the Board of Education. And then removal of sorry, I didn't bring glasses. Additional certified and classified personnel directions for considerations, item F.2.
Clarify that. What's the other thing I'm remembering? Certified. No. So, we just have the two items. Okay, can you restate what it is the certified one that you are also recommending removed from the agenda? Can you clarify that for me, please?
On E?
Or the additional one,
On yeah.
That's under.
Did she remove that or is it already?
I don't know if she removed it or not. It's under the consent agenda. You updated on our board book already?
I did not.
Okay.
You're wanting to remove one of the items on the
Consent.
certified addendum? I think you can do that when you get to consent agenda.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Okay.
So that's all the approval.
Yeah, let's just start over with the approval of the agenda. What do we got?
Okay. The approval of the agenda with the following amendments. E, additional certified and classified personnel actions for considerations, item F.2. F, remove item F.4.d, adopt the resolution rescinding policy actions found in the minutes of this Board of Education prior to June 30th, 2024, and adopt the board policy manual as presented and recommended by the superintendent of schools to govern USD-457 during the 2024-25 school year, subject to periodic review, amendment, and revisions by the Board of Education.
So we're removing that whole thing completely. Okay. I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda with the following amendments of additional certified and classified personnel actions for consideration, item F.2, and removal of item F.4.d, the adopt of a resolution rescinding policy actions found in the minutes of this Board of Education prior to June 30, 2024, and adopt the board policy manual as presented and recommended by the superintendent of schools to govern USD-457 during the 2024-2025 school year, subject to periodic review, amendment, and revisions by the Board of Education. Is there any more discussion?
I have I'm gonna abstain from this because I don't know, but all just went down right here, so that's all I have to say, yeah.
All in favor, please raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We'll move on to delegations, question and answer, public comments, recognitions, committee reports. Do we have any public comments? Jennifer? No. Correspondence? Okay. We'll move on to the election of the Board of Education President and Vice President.
Mr. President, I would like to nominate Randy Ralston to take over the position of President, Board of Education.
We have a motion to, for Randy Ralston to become president. I'll second. It's been moved and seconded that we vote Randy Ralston as president. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please raise your left hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
No.
We do both, if we do both, and then we change, right?
All right, now we'll move on to the election of the vice president.
Can I interrupt real quick, guys?
Yep.
If have we voted on Randy? Is Randy officially the president?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So then John, you would hand the baton over to Randy at this point. He runs the meeting from now on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So just stay sitting there, just.
Yeah, kick over the podium too. Sure.
All right, we'll move on now to the election of the board vice president. I declare that nominations for the office of the Board of Education Vice President are in order. Are there any nominations?
Mr. President, I would like to nominate Andy Fairmeyer for Vice President of the Board of Education.
There's been a nomination. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
There's been a nomination and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please raise your left hand. All opposed, same. Motion carries.
Quick picture of me together. So
Absolutely.
just put in our recap. Right?
Sure.
If I could, we could do it right by the sign. We could do it right in front of the sign there.
requesting that that be moved to the July 22nd meeting.
Catching up here. So
Yeah,
is this
that's
on,
good.
is this on the consent agenda? Yeah,
Yes.
you want me to remove it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with the following item removed on page 26, a supplemental contract for Maria Gomez Rock, BC bilingual level 2. I'd like to remove that from the consent agenda and move it to the July 22nd meeting.
Got a motion to approve the consent agenda with the amendments. Is there any further?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further conversation?
I would just elaborate on that. We were told that this supplemental contract was going to come to the board in new business for discussion. We were going to discuss it this evening, and it was accidentally put on the consent agenda, not giving the board the opportunity to discuss that. So Dr. Dominguez asked me to just move it to the July 2nd meeting for discussion.
Anything further? All those in favor, raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to new business. I-1, ratification of the negotiated agreement. Josh Guyman, Assistant Superintendent. He's joining us on,
Can y'all hear me okay?
yes,
Okay, very good. I think Jessica's gonna pull the slides up for me. So, we have, the teachers have voted and we have a tentative agreement for our contract. If you wanna go to the next slide, Jessica, please. Just to recap, the members that we had for negotiations, from the board side was, Jackie Jiggett and Randy Ralston from the board, and then, Drew Tone and myself. And then, GCA, we had Levi Burnfin was the lead negotiator. And then Amy Brandt, Amber V. Hill, and Juliana Baez were the other members of the teacher side. So some of the changes, we've kind of talked about some of these. We tried to keep you all informed, but I just wanted to kind of go over this real quick with you all. The first one with the salary schedule, the first piece is that the base will increase to $47,000, which is a $2,000 increase from $45,000 from last year. We worked really hard. One of the things that GCA wanted to talk about, they felt like some of the steps were compressed, and so we tried to attack that a little bit. The smallest step in the old salary schedule was $567. We got the smallest step up to $600 and expanded it. And we did say that we would visit that again next year if and look at that again moving forward. The other piece to that was in section M of the negotiated agreement, the premium pay. Obviously, Esther's money's gone away, so that's sunsetted. If you want to move to yeah, there you go. And then the last piece was the district health fund. We increased it from $830 to $900. And so all in with the increase to the base and the increase to the benefits, that's about a 6.68% raise from last year's contract. And then salary alone, it's about a 5.67% raise. So pretty good raise. Next slide, please. This is just a screenshot of the new salary schedule that we'll have in the negotiated agreement. So you can kind of see what the steps look like moving forward. So like I said, Jessica did a really good job. I feel like she worked really hard to try to increase some of those steps to avoid some of that compression. And we did agree to look at that for the next school year. The next one is the supplementals, and we added some supplementals to the contract. So student council at the intermediate and elementary level, the sponsors weren't getting a supplemental contract, and so we added them to an S2. And then we also, for our leader and me district coaches, they have a lot of work that they have to do with other buildings outside of their own building, and so we moved them to an S2 as well. And then we agreed to a $500 stipend for coaches and other sponsors to attend any postseason activity that happens outside of the school calendar. Some of our folks have a lot of things that happen if they make it to national events in the summertime, and they're giving up a lot of their summertime, and so we wanted to do something to kind of reward them for that. The next piece, professional extra duty. We just increased the hourly rate, and then we consolidated a lot of the titles. We had all kinds of titles in the negotiated agreement for scorekeepers and timers and all those things, and so we just eliminated a lot of the different names and cleaned up the language in there, and then, like I said, increased the salary a little bit. Nesting, we put nesting in the negotiated agreement last year. With the struggle that we've had with subs, a lot of the teachers are doubling up their classes or taking a portion of a class. And the way that the negotiated agreement was written last year was that every teacher got 1/4 of the sub rate for the day per hour if they nested. And so we were paying oftentimes 3 and 4 teachers. If I had a class of 24 and I put 6 kids in 4 different classes, then we had 4 teachers that were getting that. And we cleaned up the language to just say that we would continue to do that, but we would split that the hourly rate for the teachers, and they would divide it evenly between however many teachers were subbing and covering that classroom. And then the last piece was the attendance incentive. We eliminated the attendance incentive. In the past, we've given $1,000 bonus if we've had teachers that their attendance was, I think they couldn't miss any more than 2 days in a school year. And I think GCA felt like, and we felt like we could use that money elsewhere. Really wasn't a lot of teachers that were taking advantage of it. And so we eliminated that from the contract for next year. Master's degree, we increased the amount of money that teachers could get. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This is the wrong piece. Excuse me. We have quite a few degrees that are coming to us. Typical master's degree is 36 graduate hours, and between 30 and 36. And we have some of our folks that are coming to us with 40 plus hours, depending on when they do their internships and things like that. And so we just wanted to add language in there to compensate them for those extra hours of college coursework that they're taking. And the other thing, which this was news to me, the nurses, when they're placed on the salary schedule, they only get credit for their experience if their experience is as a school nurse, not just being a nurse in general. And so we didn't change any language to the negotiated agreement, but we did agree to start paying the nurses for their experience moving forward as we hire new nurses. And then number of contract days. We didn't make any changes to the contract for the next year. We'll still have the same number of student contact days, the same number of work days and in-service days, parent-teacher conference days. The only change that we did is we put language in there explicitly for Garfield Early Childhood Center. They're kind of unique in the way that they get their planning time, and so we wanted to make sure that there was language in there to explain what their planning time would look like moving forward. lost my place here. Hang on just a second. Parent-teacher conferences. One of the things that we've had with parent-teacher conferences is if a teacher wakes up on the morning of parent-teacher conferences and they're sick or they have a sick child, the language in the negotiated agreement says that they have to have permission from the superintendent if they're going to use a sick day that day. And so we just took that language out so that they don't have to get permission from the superintendent, because that wasn't happening anyway. And so we just eliminated that language. And then one of the things that they wanted, that the teachers organization wanted, is they wanted to have language in the negotiated agreement that said that we would survey the teachers. The site council will have the ultimate decision on what the schedule would look like for the for that, but they wanted to survey the teachers to get their input before they took it to the site council to vote on the schedule for parent-teacher conferences. And another thing that we did, some of the schools are already doing a 5-hour flex time where they can do up to 5 hours outside of the 2 contracted days for parent-teacher conferences. But we made that in there so that all schools could do that. All schools would be expected to do that moving forward. Next slide, please, Miss Jessica. The only change to the school calendar is we did add language in there so that we could do our 2-year contract, or excuse me, our 2-year calendar like we had discussed earlier in the year with you all. So if you all vote to approve the contract tonight, at the next meeting on the 22nd, we will have the school calendar for school year 25-26 on the agenda for your approval. And then moving forward this year, we will work on the calendar for 26-27. So we'll be continually working 2 years out for the school calendar. I think this will help us a lot with organizing professional development. It'll help parents, I think, as they want to plan things around the school calendar. They'll have an idea of what that's going to look like ahead of time. So our hope is that this will help. The other thing that we added to the negotiated agreement was just cleaning up language with the terms for the teachers that are appointed to serve on the calendar committee. That's a 3-year commitment. And we've had teachers who have either resigned, retired, left the district before their 3-year term was up. And we would put new ones in there, and then they would just automatically pick up a 3-year term. And it became really confusing to keep track of where we were in that. And so moving forward, the language is just going to say that if somebody takes the place of a person who's already served on that committee, they're only going to complete the term that the original person had. So if it's a 3-year term and the original person did 1 year, then they're only going to serve 2 years on that committee. Just cleaning up that language. Leaves. We really talked a lot about PTO, and we were hoping that we could get there. GCA just wasn't quite ready to move to PTO. We did, however, agree to move from 10 sick days and 2 personal days to 9 emergency leave days or sick days and 3 personal days. And then we also removed the Life Happens Day. And the Life Happens Day was where they could use their emergency leave day in case of something, a life event. You wake up and your basement's flooded, your daycare's closed. Problem we were having with the Life Happens Day is it wasn't being used consistently from building to building, and it was creating some inconsistencies for the district. And then we also eliminated there was language in there that allowed the teachers to request an extra personal day at the superintendent's discretion. And so now that we've added it to where they've got 3 personal days a year, we removed that language as well. The next one is leaves as well. That one really, we just needed to change our language to match FMLA, the current language for FMLA, and so our language was that we adopted just is going to get us in line with the Family Medical Leave Act, and then we also added language in there that would guarantee that teachers would not be charged emergency leave if they had an injury due to an assault by a student or a patron at school. One of the big changes that we did is in our our sick leave bank, our illness and disability bank. We moved away from I shouldn't say we moved away. We adjusted it to anybody that wants to take days and request days out of the bank has to donate a day before they're able to access those days. And in the past, we only paid 75% of your daily rates, and so we moved the board's contribution from 120 days down to 95 days, and agreed to give 100% of the salary to the teachers by doing that. So the board would donate 95 days a school year, and then however many teachers would donate, we would have those days in the pool as well. One of the really exciting things that I'm excited about with this is any of the days that are left over at the end of the year, we would take the rate for the sub, and that would go to offset some of the cost of our health fund and try to keep our premiums for our health insurance at a lower rate in the event that we do have days left over at the end of the year. Next slide. This one, the master's degree, this we agreed to increase it from $5,000 to $7,500 for reimbursement. We're not requesting any more funds to be allocated to the account. It'll be the same amount of money. We're finding that a lot of the teachers aren't requesting the full amount, and so there's still money left over every year, and we feel like we'll be okay with the amount that we've got allocated. But it just allows the teachers to request more funds because tuition has obviously increased since we started this plan. And then one of the other big changes is the grievance procedure. So it was a 4-level process in the past, and we removed level 3 and level 4, where in the past it would go, if it got to level 2, the committee would make a decision, and then if the teacher didn't like that decision, then they could appeal to the superintendent and then appeal to the board. We removed level 3 and level 4 and left it at level 2 to kind of tighten up that timeline, with the agreement that the GCA would select three members from their side, and we would have 3 members from the board side that would be selected to be a part of the committee, and then 1/7 member that would be an at-will that both sides would agree to. We would have a list of about 7 that we would pull a different member each time, depending on the grievance, kind of moving forward. With that, all decisions from the committee will be final, except for financial remedies. Those will still have to be approved by the board because the board has to allocate funds if there's a financial remedy that comes with that. And then Article 9, we cleaned up some of the language from when a teacher has a conference report and there's a concern with their performance. In the past, the language was 10 working days, and then there had to be a follow-up, and 10 days was really kind of unfair to the teacher and the administrator. And so we moved it out to 30 contract days, giving both parties time so the teachers had time to remedy the concern that the administrator had, and the administrator had time to collect the paperwork and work on that. The other thing that the teachers wanted was, we had language in there that says if teachers are renewed or non-renewed, it shall not be stated in writing that they were non-renewed. We took out the shall not and put may, because some of our teachers are being non-renewed simply because they're great teachers and they're doing a good job, but they're being non-renewed because of certification. And so letting the teachers know that you're non-renewed, but once you get your test back and things, we would hire you back and you would be in good standing again with the district. Other than that, we just had some revisions. There was a lot of grammar errors, a lot of language things that needed to be adjusted. One of the things moving forward that we're going to do is we're going to date all the changes that we make on the negotiated agreement this year, so we have kind of a record of when these changes were made from year to year, because we really don't know when changes have been made to the document. So we're going to try to keep a running record of that moving forward. And the last thing that I would say, last slide there, just for your information, the voting for the contract opened for the teachers on June 11th at 2:00, and it closed on June 25th at 5. We needed to have 235 teachers vote to have a quorum. We actually had 331 of 468 teachers, which was about a 70.7% voter turnout, which was really good for the summertime. It passed. The teachers that voted passed in support of it by 85%. And with that, I will take any questions that you all might have from me.
Josh, I have a question on the nurses. Is that retroactive since we have I've had some of them contact me. Is that retro back to, are we giving them their years of service prior to the district, or is it moving forward?
So it'll be on this year's contract, so they won't get paid for all the years they've been with us. But if they've been with us, we'll put them on the salary scale where they should be in the 24-25 contract, John. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
So they'll start next year with all the experience they should have had, but we won't go back and like correct previous years.
That's your question, John, previous
Yeah.
year, or previous months, because July is the payday, so moving forward. with
Yeah.
Credit.
So, yeah, I think there was a lot of questions from nurses. Michelle had talked to me a little bit about it because some of the nurses that have been hired and had experience that we didn't give them credit for, they were wondering if they were going to get credit or if it was just going to be the new folks that we hired. We're going to give credit to everybody that's hired with us, but we're not going to go back for the years in the past and back pay it, because those contracts, we can only pay them for the contract that they're currently under.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a comment. They were exceptionally long this year, it seemed, but there was a lot of work done by Drew and Josh and Jessica that was very helpful for us to continue and make changes and understand why. Thanks. Thank you.
And I just add comments too. I felt like they were long and it was a lot of good conversation was had. I really felt like we were moving in the same direction. We're all rowing the boat the same way. I think they didn't come to the table with anything that was outlandish or not reasonable. And I think our counters to those or their counters to our proposals, it was good. And it just made me really feel like we all have the same goal that we're trying to get to. It's just, fortunately, we don't have a blank check and sure, we would love to pay them all more and because they deserve it for sure. But I think it's a good start and I think it's a good stepping stone for next year to really work on some things. I think the PTO thing was big. I think if we could get something like that would really help everybody. And I know there's support out there for that, but it's a step in the right direction. So I thank everybody that worked on it as well. That's all I have. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.
Move on to item I2. Oh,
We have to vote.
oh
We got-
yeah,
Mr. President.
got you.
Mr. President, I move that we ratify the 2024-2025 negotiated agreement that includes the approved 2024-2025 calendar.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the ratification of the negotiated agreement. Any further comments? All in favor, please raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion passes. Okay, now we'll move on to item I2. The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve a proposal from, I'm going to butcher it, but Samsara Incorporated for the purchase of dual-facing cameras for transportation in the amount of $44,570.60. Mr. Shane Burns, you're up.
Oh, Jason, could you advance mine? Just stick up there for that. Thanks. Hey, so, actually Jason is the one that brought this company to my attention earlier, this year. And, just give you a little background. We have cameras in all of our buses. But they're old, but they're new enough to plug and play with the stuff I'm proposing. But, if something happens on a bus, say Mr. Weesey was reported that he was riding on the back of a seat or something a little bit more. If the bus comes in, we have to go out and pull the DVR physically out, bring it into the office, plug it in, download the clip, and then we can start working from there. So sometimes with middays and then the afternoon routes, we get in, we pull it, and then stuff happens. So there's at times buses go out without the DVR. So something could happen that we don't have any access or video to, and then there's been times this year where I've gotten phone calls from parents before I even knew something happened on the bus. So this is that's why I said some of our priorities right now are student and driver safety, and then our asset protection. Asset protection is our vehicles plus the 2,500 plus assets with students, drivers, and the employees. So what I want to do is the front and rear facing cameras, it's the size of a cell phone. I'm sorry I don't have a super fancy presentation like Mr. Guyman did, but I wanted just you to look at the stuff that's on there, not the fancy eye counts. But so the front and back facing camera is about the size of a cell phone. It shoots out the front, it shoots out the back. You go ahead and advance. So this is right here is what we have with our camera system right now. Adding the front and the rear facing cameras with Samsara, they actually tap into what we have existing, and then it puts it up on the cloud. So as I said before, we had to pull the DVR out. Now within minutes, I can download a video and have something ready and to the principal, possibly before they get to school or contact their parents before they get home. Excuse me. With these right here, it's called a panic button. It's a terrible name. But if something happens on the bus, they can push the button. It alerts me. It alerts Drew, our head mechanic, to let us know that we need to look at something without them having to radio in. So we get this alert. Automatically, the system will record 30 seconds before the button is pushed and 30 seconds after the button is pushed. That way we have plenty of time to look at before. Right now with our old system, with the REI system, they push the button and all it does on the feed is just put a little mark. So we can go to that mark and try to find what's happening before that. So go ahead. I also want to put them in our Suburbans and our Ford vans. Anything that we transport students in. So it wouldn't be in like the administrator's vehicles or anything like that. So if Josh is speeding, we won't be able to track that. But so we have the interior view and this is the exterior. This is actually one of our drivers now with some of our students. You can see right away, the technology is really cool. It has AI, which it will have different things that we can select, like different events. So if they're on their cell phone, or if they don't have their seatbelt on, or if they're harsh braking, or if they roll through a stop sign, we'll get an alert. We can set it up. They have onboard coaching. So go ahead, Jason. So right here, this is the Samsara slide. If it shows that you're distracted driving, you're not looking at the wheel. If on the coaching part of it, it'll just say, pay attention to the road. A voice will actually come across and say that. This one, it'll say, put your seatbelt on. If you have your phone up, it'll say, put your phone away. Go ahead, Jason. So this is actually some of ours. I pulled some of this stuff from the school year. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I tried to blur their faces out as much as possible. But we have cell phone usage. Luckily, there's no students in the car. We have on the phone, we don't have a seatbelt on. This young lady right here, she's one of our bus drivers. And she was just going to, she wasn't gonna go pick up kids or something or anything, but her phone rang. She picked it up and it told her to put her phone down. She was mortified. She came back to and said, I'm sorry. This weird voice came across. She didn't know. But so it does help us with things like this. Also, when these events come off, I don't know if you can see very well, but there's a training button. So when I get the alert, I can go in and I can refer, because there's a lot of coaching that can happen in this. And I'm a former coach for a million years. You always want to coach people up as best you can before you do anything punitive. That's how I always saw it. So with this, I can click a button that says, distracted driving. So now they get a video sent to them. They view it on their phone or on the computer, but they actually have to go through that. So, and it'll show me if they've done it or not. If not, I can bring them in, we can one-on-one watch it together. But with this, with our drivers, I mean, it's the same AI that's in the cars, also in the buses. So if there's distraction or some kind of event that happens, like right here this spring, we had an accident where somebody ran into the bus over on VFW and Jones. So what happened is a young lady was trying to cross Jones, didn't see the SUV coming. SUV tried to swerve and miss and ran right into our bus facing north on VFW. So for a little bit, there was a he said, she said type thing. But to help, if we had the forward facing camera, it would have taken all. But we had to wait for the highway patrolman to go through all of their stuff and then come up with the best guess of what happened, because nobody was backing down to whose fault it was. Go ahead. Also with this, on the video, it'll show all these little red spots are where the stop arm went. So if Ms. Jiggett calls me and said, hey, you didn't come to our stop. You weren't at my bus stop. Yeah, we did stop. The stop arm came up. Several kids got on. I'm sorry you were late to the stop. I mean, so I have proof. Also with the yellows, it'll show me where the events happened. So if somebody calls and said, hey, I was at this intersection and this bus did this, but I don't have the number, I can pull up this map and look at it and see who's in the area. I can actually draw a circle and it'll zoom in and show me which buses were in that area. So, I could tell you all the amazing things that happen, but I don't want to take up your whole evening. But each driver will have a safety score. So depending on their driving, their speed, all the events, now I have some data that I can start, I can start building goals with all these drivers. So now we have something we can sit down and look at and say, okay, your safety score is 77. We have some things that I need you to remediate. These are some things you get better on. So now we can set goals and we can move forward. Just like the teachers, you want to set professional development goals. We want them to achieve and get better. This is a way that I can do that by collecting some data. Before we can't collect this data. Go ahead. This is just kind of a picture of where I can access the training center. At any time, a lot of our programs that we currently have, it costs a lot of money to get training. All the training is for free. Once we get the subscription, the training is free. If they update any of their hardware, we get it shipped out to us for free. If they update, they get better cameras, they get better connections. We get all that stuff for free. We don't have to pay for it for the upgrades or anything like that. So they send it out, we plug it in, and it's super simple, plug and play. As I said, it's the size of a cell phone. There's 2 units. There's one that goes hidden, and then it just plugs in where everything else plugs in. It goes right into the REI system, and it talks to each other, and it actually communicates with Tyler also. So now we're getting all kinds of data, GPS data that we haven't had before on our vehicles. And it also shows, go ahead, Jason. We get to the maintenance data. So it'll send us an alert if something's going wrong. We had an instance with Mr. Tidwell. He took some students up to Salina and he called and said, hey, it's hard starting. It's running really, really rough. So this was on a Saturday. So our head mechanic got up early Saturday morning, drove all the way to Salina with another Suburban for the kids. If we would have had this, we would have been able to look and say, well, it was just a sensor. And with our relationship with the other schools and districts, we could have made a phone call. They could have hooked us up with a sensor to get us back home. So instead of that, we paid, we doubled the fuel, we doubled the mileage on the vehicle. We put people at risk driving on the highway. And then, of course, we paid overtime for that. So it's going to save us money in the long run. And it also, we can start, go ahead, Jay. So go to the next one. All right, so here's our year one goals. This is what I was going to get to. With some of the GPS features and the diagnostics, right now with Fleet Vision, with Tyler, we currently have something similar. But the benefits to this, we're going to run them side by side for the whole year and see which ones actually is, because the, excuse me, the Fleet Vision doesn't do all the stuff that this stuff does. I mean, this kind of puts everything in a nice little package with a nice little bow. So we're going to run them, Jason and I are going to run them side by side. We'll see which ones actually collect the best data, help us make better informed decisions, and then hopefully we can compare. And what I think what we're going to do is we'll be able to cut that Fleet Vision off of our Tyler subscription, and then the costs will just offset each other. So what we're going to save by cutting Fleet Vision off of our Tyler subscription is you guys have seen how much that stuff costs, right? So we'll just be trading one for the other with something that's actually better and a lot newer. All right, so their proposal is 52 assets and 39 buses, 8 vans, and 5 Suburbans. And I actually started this because I wanted something in our vans. Our Ford vans are the ones that transport our highest need, our special needs students. And at the very beginning, when he started talking about this, you see videos and stuff all the time. Now on my Twitter feed, I got all kinds of bus videos and stuff. So there was actually a van with a special needs student that got up out of the seatbelt and tried to take the keys out of the van. So the driver was holding the student back, going 40 miles an hour, trying to pull over. The student fell, hit their head, and the parents were super upset. But on the video, she did everything that she was supposed to do to keep her and everything safe. But without that, now, I mean, if we don't have video, we have to assume that it happened and then put remedies in or mitigations in so it doesn't happen again. So that video exonerated that teacher. And I mean, we have tons of, I think we have 8 vans that are all over the district that transport students. And, you know, also our Suburbans, our coaches get back super late at night. We do have male coaches that take female teams in the Suburbans. We're trying to prevent as much as possible. I'm not trying to catch anybody for speeding or catch anybody for driving where they weren't supposed to. I'm just trying to be safe and to cover, make sure everybody is taken care of. Students, the drivers, is just one thing happens, whatever this dollar amount on here, when we're looking at lawsuits, it doesn't matter. So that's what I'm asking for, is that we put this in and we start protecting our students, all students and coaches, because we've been lucky. In the past, we've had some incidents, but it could be worse. And I just want to make sure everybody's protected. Any questions? Yes, sir.
How often do we rent vehicles or like rent an outside vehicle to take students somewhere?
I haven't. This year I haven't.
Okay.
We borrowed a bus from Holcomb because we were out of activity buses and I borrowed a route bus for the air conditioner to send them to Liberal.
Okay.
I think they went to Liberal, but
I
that
was
was,
told there was like a certain amount of miles, and then after that number of miles, we rent instead of take our own. Colleen had told me to watch out for that, so I don't know, maybe we just need to.
I haven't rented anything.
Maybe we
I
just
haven't
have it
needed to
on
rent
the
anything.
card. Yeah. I don't know if it's written anywhere, I can look into it.
Okay, with this program, is it able to like move, like say we need to rent, large
Yes.
capacity van to take students somewhere? Can we take these out of like one Suburban, put it into that rental or like an unused vehicle? Can they be moved between vehicles that if, in that scenario, if we need it?
They give us all the connections to plug right into it. It's all plug and play. We just gotta shoot them the VIN number. They'll send us the right plug. Most of them are universal. So it'll just plug right in and go. But yeah, super easy.
So when it's recording and the data that it's constantly sending it to the cloud, or does the vehicle pull to the bus barn and then it dumps it?
No, right away.
It's live.
Yep. I mean, and for an extra fee, we can get live, but we don't need the live if we have the alert button or, I mean, it's just easier that way.
I was just kind of wondering who stores all this data. Is that part of our contract?
Mhm.
That they store it?
So if does it store for a certain number of days? Like say you get a call 2 weeks later about an incident, do you have the ability to look back that far or?
Yep, I can go 30 days back.
30 days, okay.
And just to throw it out there, they just signed a deal with the city of Garden City. So you see, I wrote down which all departments, but they're active now with city of Garden City. They have throughout the electric, water, snowplow, and the trash departments. So they're already running these in there. And same thing, asset protection plus protect your folks.
Yeah, and it's important. I mean, my just comment I'd make is distracted driving. I think NHTSA just released a study they did. 6% more likely to be in an accident distracted driving than drunk driving. Not that I'm condoning drunk driving and all that, it's safer, but I say that just to see the importance of distracted driving and how dangerous it really is.
It's understandable when we use our phones for GPS. I get it, but at least knowing that Big Brother's watching, I don't know if that's a good enough term or terrible term to say, but it just changes behavior. Like the young lady that's told her to put her phone down. She don't ever want to drive Suburban again.
Well, you sell it as, we're not out to get anybody.
Right, and
We're
whatever.
here to protect you too, you know?
And if you guys approve this, what I'll do is we'll make sure that we send something out to the entire district, letting everybody know our why. This is our why. This is why we're doing this. It's not to catch you or to make, catch you speeding or doing something you're not supposed to. It's just to make sure that we are doing what we're supposed to and we're taking care of the students.
Yeah, I lived this when we went to body cameras, when they were the new thing, and everybody thought, oh no, but now there's a cop that wouldn't work without them because it protects them more than it ever hurts them. So.
This is an annual fee for 5 years, correct?
Yes. And hopefully we'll cut that once we get rid of fleet vision, if we can.
Is there any kind, I'm sorry. Is there any kind of replacement like with in 3 years or 5 years, is there a kind of a replacement program or anything, or we just are buying them outright?
No, with the subscription, that's when, we're not buying them, we're not purchasing them. So that if they come out with new stuff, they send it out. We switch it out and go with the new stuff. So as long as they're in business, we'll get new equipment as it comes out.
So I have 2 questions. On your one slide it showed like a 35% discount first year, 35% discount. So next year, will that increase?
No, that'll be what it
That's
is.
it, okay. And then on your bid, it talks about there's no Wi-Fi and no ELD in the bid. How will we communicate with those? Do we have another option for the Wi-Fi or?
We have a Wi-Fi in our buses and we're going to discuss that as we move forward. But they have an option for Wi-Fi, but they said don't get it because it's super expensive.
Yeah.
So we'll look at what we have and how we move forward with that.
So you have a solution for that, being that it's not in the bid, is
Yeah.
basically what you're saying?
Casey will pay for it.
I understand. A quick question on these are under the warranty, and so they'll take care of anything that goes wrong with them. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
These are basically leased, so.
Yeah.
Kind of how I'm understanding it.
Any other questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
We've been asked to make a motion and consider approval, so someone would like to make a motion.
I make a motion that we approve, the proposal from Samsara Incorporated for a total of $44,570.60.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the proposal. Is there any further comments or questions? All those in favor, please raise your left hand. Opposed, the same. Motion carries. We will move on to item I3. The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the purchase of Cisco WebEx Cloud Calling Telephone Service. I don't even know what that word is. In the amount of $536,906.95. Yeah, Roxy.
Good evening.
Hello.
In 2015, Garden Public Schools, we updated our current phone system. So we're reaching, by the time we implement this, we'll have reached 10 years of using the current system. In today's world and technology, that's quite a long time. So we got everything we could out of that old system. But that phone system is end of life and in a support. So it's imperative that we update it. Over the last several months, the district, in partnership with Logicalis, looked at purchasing new servers for on-prem, which is what we currently have. We're moving to the cloud. It is our desire to move our phone system to the cloud. So I request that the board approve the Cisco WebEx calling system under the state of Kansas procurement contract, data communication products and services, Cisco systems. There are available funds for this in the infrastructure account as well as maintenance contracts. I do ask that you take action on this request this evening to take advantage of Cisco's year-end pricing. And now please welcome Danny Spurgeon of Logicalis. Logicalis for the
That's the word I skipped.
Well, yeah, it's logical IS is basically what it is, so.
For the proposed presentation.
Yeah, so Roxy, my name's Danny Spurgeon. So I'm an account executive with Logicalis and I'm based in Wichita, Kansas. Logicalis is a Cisco Global Gold integrator, so that's the top tier Cisco systems integrator, designer of Cisco solutions. As Roxy said, this is under the state of Kansas procurement contract, the NASPO, so we're good there. Is it just that? Down, okay. So a lot of you are probably thinking, what is Cisco WebEx Cloud Calling? WebEx is the leading enterprise collaboration solution combining calling, meetings, messaging, and contact center under basically a single collaboration umbrella. This solution that's in front of you today is on education plans, so there is education SKUs available, and that's what this solution will be. The other part of the WebEx calling feature is security and privacy is natively built into the product. There's no need for any third-party security products to bolt on to secure your cloud calling platform. It sits in Cisco's data centers and it's wrapped around Cisco's full portfolio of security products. The other big feature I wanted to bring up is support for E911 and the dynamic location support. This solution will conform to the FCC guidelines around Carey's Law and the Ray-Bombs Act for E911. Carey's Law is notifying buildings that a call has been placed to 911 inside the building. So an alert will go out to people designated that, hey, a 911 call has been originated from this building, from this location. So that's the Carey's Law that's required. Ray-Bombs Act is location zoning and notifying emergency dispatchers of geolocation or zone location of a 911 call. So it can't just be, there's the address, the fire department shows up to the front door or the EMS show up to the front door. It has to be zoned to, it was on this floor, this office, this schoolroom. So this solution will be built and designed to confirm or follow those laws. So as we implement, we will make sure that you are conforming with those. So why Cisco WebEx calling? Like Roxy said, you're a current Cisco call manager sitting on servers in your data center today. We came in and looked at what is best offer, what can we repurpose, what's the skill set of the IT department, what makes the most sense. And Cisco really is the top tier call manager solution in the market. Again, current Cisco infrastructure is going into support end of life. That's phones, voice gateways, routers, switches, all of that stuff that's on your current environment, like Roxy said, is 10 years old, so it's coming end of life, end of support, and we need to refresh those. I will also mention, no matter which way you go, from a Cisco perspective, your phones were not supported for cloud calling or on-prem. So the bulk of your phones needed to be replaced as well. So that was one of the decisions that we had to make. Update security posture. So moving to the cloud provides no hardware patching, no having to patch servers, not having to update call manager software. All of that stuff is very time consuming and costly to do every other year or refresh server infrastructure. So that goes away. There's still hardware that will need to be replaced, like phones and switches and voice, but the server infrastructure where the software lives, that goes away, and it lives in Cisco's cloud, and they manage it, they update it, they keep it secure. Lower TCO and move to a predictable cost model, less infrastructure hardware, and again, no costly software upgrades. Flexible work from anywhere. So this will be new for a lot of folks in the district. You'll have options for every user, 5 devices. So you can use traditional phones, like you walk into your office and there's a phone sitting on your desk, but you also have the option of what's called a soft phone. So I can use the application on my laptop, my iPad to make a phone call. I can use my cell phone to use the application to make a phone call from the district's phone number. It's not your phone number that goes out, it's the district's phone number. So there's some flexibility there under the cloud model. So the process of how we do design and selection. So the first thing we did was meet with Roxy and team and really started to understand the current environment, the current skill set of the admins running the environment. And we wanted to make sure that there was skill sets and infrastructure that we could repurpose to the new environment. So that checked a box for us of being able to move to cloud calling is the skill set and try to repurpose as much infrastructure as we could. That's phones, routers, switches. The other piece, the second piece that we really look at is feature parity. So is what you have today able to be done in the cloud? And that checked all the boxes. So there's no discrepancy from on-prem to cloud calling. It's the same thing. It just doesn't live in the data center, in your data center. It lives in Cisco's cloud. We created a 6-year TCO, and it proved out that after 6 years, cloud calling was more cost effective. The model we ran was about a $60,000 savings moving to the cloud versus on-prem. So $60,000 over 6 years is what the savings would be. The next program then we did was we set up a pilot program for the IT department to run WebEx cloud calling. So they've been running that for a couple months now within the IT staff. And then, like Roxy said, we started conversations back in December all the way up until June, now July. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but I just wanted to give you a highlight of what Logicalis is, because probably none of you have ever heard of it. Logicalis is a worldwide IT systems integrator. As you can see, we've basically covered the globe. I fit in the North America section, obviously, Those numbers are a little outdated. There's a lot of investment actually in the Kansas market. 2 years ago, there was one rep, no engineers, no solution architects. You move to today, there's 3 account executives, 2 systems engineers. You go to Kansas City, there's 5 account executives within a year and a half. So there's a large investment from Logicalis US into the Kansas kind of Missouri market. And we have design architects, systems engineers, and account executives, basically locally. Just some awards. I wanted to highlight maybe a couple. Cisco America's Managed Service Partner of the Year for 2023. That's a very big one. The Cisco Global Sustainability Partner of the Year. Again, these are big ones. And then the Cisco Global Enterprise Network and Meraki Partner of the Year. So those are pretty big awards from Cisco in 2023. And then what do we really do? So we're siloed out. We have basically 5 practices that we fall under. We handle all design and implementation of data centers, cloud, network and wireless, collaboration, which this solution would fall under, and then the security side of it. So that's all I really wanted to present on. I figured there'd be quite a few questions, so see if I can field those for you.
About how many phones are you guys gonna have to replace?
679 plus 38, so just over 700.
And we started the process of updating our phones last year as well.
So they have a bulk of the new phones that we'll buy. They already have a bulk set of those too. So it's actually, district has more than 700 phones.
Is there a plan for when and if the internet goes out? I just know at the church we've gone to an IP system and have had some slight issues when we've lost the internet. And just wanted to check in on that, what your plans are for that.
We currently have 2 POTS lines at each location. In case something does go out, we can call, if we need to call 911, we can do that. We'll continue to have that with this system. And then in addition, everybody that wants to can have soft phones. So I think we'll have more backup than we've ever had, more redundancy, because if a principal needs to call somebody on the school district's number, he can with his cell phone.
I'm assuming that's like an app or something they download.
Yeah, it's just an app and it can live on pretty much any device. I mean, I have it on almost every device I own. So laptop, if I'm sitting at my desk, I actually don't ever pick up a phone. I click the person's picture and it dials the phone to them. And that's a call. If somebody wants to call me on my cell phone from work, they're normally sitting at a desk and I'm mobile 90% of the time. They click my picture, it rings on my phone and it just says, it looks like a normal phone call. It just says Cisco WebEx and it gives the phone number. So I can answer it on my phone, just like a normal phone call. So it just gives the option. I mean, you get it on 5 devices per user. If you have users that don't want to put anything on the device, they can have a traditional desk phone just like they're used to. It's a Cisco phone, just like they're used to. This system really is a continuation of what they have today. It's just moving it from on-prem to a different server in the cloud.
So just so I understand, we do have some schools that have, like the farm schools, that have terrible internet. You don't expect any problems with that out there?
So your internet, I can't speak for your internet stability. That's through the ISP. When it comes from Cisco, Cisco is a carrier grade. It's a carrier grade product. So they have 4 nines of availability. So if you're losing internet connection at those locations, there might be a workaround from that. You can also use cellular. I mean, is cellular a problem at those locations as well? I mean, the app will still work from a data plan and you can still make calls in and out and still receive calls.
So I think, Dr. Irving, as we talk about this particular plan now, we have fiber to both of our,
Country
to
schools.
both of our country schools.
Yes.
And the issues we face at those schools isn't a internet connectivity or internet service, it's more to do with the Wi-Fi network we have within the school has been with the issue. Is that?
Right, Casey and Anthony, back me up on that. Is that correct or not? Because we've checked and then at some parts of the building, and I'll say Verizon or AT&T or the different service.
There are issues with the cellular service in that area. That's nothing we can control. We've looked at boosters, the district can look at.
Well, I'm talking about the internet service, the.
Internet. We have,
Not cell service, but just the internet service at our grade schools. Can you talk about how those are served?
They're served the same way, they have the same equipment, same quality of service that every building in the district has. They have the same, everything is identical in those buildings.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you've done wireless surveys out there and
Yeah, I walk around those schools with wireless testing equipment.
that's from the tech side.
It's reported to us all the time that their Wi-Fi never works out there and you can't connect, so. Might be user error, I don't know, but.
Yeah, the desk phone will be a hardwired phone. I mean, it's a traditional, it will run the same route as what your traditional phone runs today that's sitting there. It will run through switching environment. It's not, doesn't have to connect to the Wi-Fi. So,
Okay.
This phone is no different than the current phone we have, which is not Wi-Fi.
it will
So if
still
there's a
route it.
Wi-Fi issue, it's still gonna connect.
It's gonna route through a switch with a hard cable back to a route that goes out to the cloud. Where today, it routes through a switch.
Okay,
to your
thanks,
data
thanks
center.
for clarifying that.
Yeah, you're talking about losing the entire internet altogether is what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Cellular, not cellular, not Wi-Fi service.
Gotcha, thank you for clarifying.
Is this a what's the length of this?
So this is a 3-year prepaid, so it's all up front. I broke it out for you because I figured somebody would ask this. So there's really 4 categories within the solution. There's reoccurring, which is a subscription model. There's maintenance, which will be on hardware. So if you don't do support on phones, you just buy another phone because they're commodity based. They're just cheap. So you'll just swap out a phone. But routers and switches, you'll have hardware support on those. You have the hardware cost, which is the phones, switches, voice gateways, routers, and then you'll have services from us. And the hardware cost and the services are just a one-time CapEx.
What are we looking at for annual cost after the end of this 3-year agreement?
So if I took the reoccurring plus the maintenance together, it's $303,000 for 3 years. So divide that by 3, it's about 101.
So approximately 101,000 annually after this agreement.
Barring inflation and all that good stuff. So.
Do we have an annual fee that we pay now for phone service?
it's on-prem, so,
You
we
were,
have SmartNet.
yeah, you were on what's called a flex agreement. This is a flex agreement, which is 3 years. You were on a flex agreement, so you were paying annually. Your last payment, I'm assuming, was a little while ago. So you were paying annually today for on-prem.
I guess we don't know off the top of our head what that cost is.
We'd have to look it up.
Okay.
Which that goes away if we.
Yeah, you've already made last payment on it, so that agreement's gone. You've fulfilled that agreement. This would just be basically a continuation of what you had. It's just moving it to cloud calling instead of on-prem. So it's the same model that you had before.
Okay.
Talk a little more about funding. Where are we getting this from? What will fund this project?
We have a line item called infrastructure that we use for any big ticket items. If we need to upgrade the switch in the back, phone services, anything that we currently have in place, we need to upgrade. when we do the E-rate bids for switches and access points, that all comes out of infrastructure. So we have a line item with plenty of money for that. And then the recurring cost will come out of maintenance contracts. And that as well has money in it for exactly this maintenance, annual recurring costs. We won't need to touch that after this year for 3 more years. And we do a lot of 3-year contracts. So the amount we need fluctuates per year, but we like the 3-year price because we get a deal, so to speak. It's cheaper for us to do.
It looks like in 2020, we paid $144,000. And then since then, like 8,000 in 21 and in 22 and 10,000 in 23.
That's been our kind of annual phone cost for our.
That's to the company that this would replace, the ISG.
Does this amount of money wipe that fund out or?
I guess where I'm going with this question is do we pay an annual phone bill? I guess for lack of a better word, like, do we pay an annual phone bill for all the buildings in the district? And what is that? Because if at the end of this agreement to keep this service running, we're looking at about 101,000 or so a year to continue our phone services. So just how does that compare to what we currently pay to operate our phone system annually?
The annual phone bill is actually through Cox. When you're talking about the phone lines. We have PRIs and that gives us all our numbers. That's through Cox. That will stay the same. That doesn't change whether they're on-prem or on the cloud. What changes is kind of the maintenance contracts, and some of our stuff is now out of support. So we are not paying the maintenance contracts. It must have gone maybe, what you said, 144,000?
To ISG, and that's what will go away.
That's,
Is the
it
ISG.
already has gone away. So we've saved money the last 2 years. Or 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah, the perpetual model of, I mean, the cameras that you just saw presented are now a subscription. That's where everything is going. It's no more, I can buy the license, I can buy the phone, I can keep it for 10 years. No manufacturer is using that model anymore. It's literally becoming a subscription-based recurring revenue. But there's a lot to be said about that. There's support that's included. There's upgrades that are included. I mean, that's a big, security patching is huge right now. So paying that recurring revenue every year is big because that security falls under them. And Cisco's a big security company that can handle that. So just take that into consideration if you're thinking about your cost. And there's back end, him having to upgrade the server, him having to upgrade the software. I mean, that's a lot of money that is hidden because he's paid to do it, where his time could be better invested in customer facing engagements and helping people with technology, so. And I'll add one more thing. The state of Kansas just signed theirs in June. So the state of Kansas is moving to this. They just signed theirs in June. So they're moving to the same solution you guys are, or is in front of you.
You asked about board action tonight because of just pricing availability. How long is this? What's our kind of final date to make a decision on this to retain the pricing that you presented?
So I told Roxy the 19th. Cisco's year end is, I think that last week is the 22nd. So whatever that Friday is, the 29th maybe, that's Cisco's year end. No orders past that date. It takes a couple days to process an order. So I was hoping by the 19th, we could have it in, get all the stuff ordered, start getting phones in because we need to get this stuff rolling, hopefully to try to get this in before December. I mean, I think Roxy and I talked about that today was what's timeline to try to implement this. And I would like to try to get it in over break because there'll be some outages and we want to schedule that around school closings. But I want to try to get this done before the end of the year, calendar year. So we need to place an order about as quick as possible. If we go past Cisco's year end, we're going to have to redo everything and the price. I mean, I hate to be that guy, but I'm gonna be that guy and tell you that we're at the mercy of Cisco of what they're gonna price it.
So our next board meeting is on the 22nd with 3 days longer.
Yeah, I mean,
Up to you to where we could get some more data on what we currently have and what we're currently paying.
not really. I mean, it just will delay the order process, but I don't think that we'll have a problem placing an order before the Friday.
So it's doable to continue to move forward with this if we take action at our next board meeting on the 22nd.
Yeah, we'll let her answer that question. Cause I know the answer for me.
Yes, it's doable. We do run the risk of it not getting completed by Cisco's year end. Like, I don't think there's any additional costs that we're paying currently because our stuff is out of, we're not paying maintenance contracts on it any longer. The phones that work, we're not paying maintenance contracts on those, and nor will we for the phones that we're ordering now. So like I said, the telephone service, that won't change. So we're mainly starting over, so to speak, on our maintenance contract right now. Because we don't have one, maybe, no, the switches, it's pretty minimal. But we did find a company that would kind of help us out. Not the switches, the servers.
The router and the servers.
Because that is so out of date. Cisco won't support it any longer. So we can continue to run, but one of these days something's gonna go down and we're gonna be without phones.
So we couldn't even get a maintenance contract right now, what we have, is what you're saying?
I'm sorry.
We couldn't even get it, a maintenance contract's not available on the equipment.
If
we have
if
now.
it is, it's very
There's
minimal.
no longer support for it.
Right, it's
Okay.
very minimal if it, and we do pay for a third-party company. We do pay some support, but it is very minimal.
I'll say you're at an inflection point, and I don't wanna scare you, but we're at an inflection point, and if we're just gonna wait till the 22nd. I mean, I get it, but that's fine, but we need to do something because we need to get you under support, under current contracts. Cause there's liability for the district, for what's happening now, so.
It's evident to me that you guys have done a lot of work to get to this point. There's been a lot of research done. I guess it's just, being that it's well over $500,000 contract, there's just a couple things I'd like to be able to ask additional questions on, wrap my head around, make sure I'm comfortable with what it is we're voting on. It sounds like if we make a board action on the 22nd, that's 1 week ahead of that deadline for vote. I don't want to put you guys in unnecessary pinch, but I personally would like to just get a little bit better handle of a few of these things. You've done a really good job of explaining things tonight. I can tell that you've done a lot of work to get to the point of bringing this. But I would like to table this until the next board meeting if possible. That would be my opinion.
We can try to get the annual cost for phones as far as a contract. And then what else would we need for the board?
So I'll probably help you. You're not paying anything right now. So you haven't had an annual contract in 21 and 22 or 23. If you said your last payment was in 2020.
I just added up the last 10 years that we've been with ISG, we paid just under 1.8 million for 10 years. And so this 535
yeah.
would be for the first 3 and then like 100 after that.
After.
So you'd be
That's $180,000 a year.
2 million, yeah.
1.2 million.
With inflation, yeah.
Okay.
1.8, that would be the first time.
You've talked a little bit about it, but what, just for some more clarity on, what is the advantages and disadvantages of on-premise? Like what would be an advantage of an on-premise phone versus a cloud? And what would be the disadvantages?
So just think of the underlying software, which is a call manager, right? So it handles all routing of calls. It's the software. The phone is just a dummy device that sits at the end of the line. The advantages of having Call Manager on-prem is you can control when you upgrade, you can control what environment it lives on, what infrastructure it sits on. It sits on a server. So you get to control that. To be honest, there's not a whole lot of benefits anymore other than that. The benefit of cloud is it takes it off of your infrastructure. There's less physical server infrastructure that has to live on. His plate gets less full of having to update the physical hardware, doing software patches on the software, doing security patches on the software. All of that stuff goes away when it lives in the cloud. He'll have hardware at the end of a switch or a router. He'll do some upgrades and patching on that, but the physical hardware that the software lives on, that goes away. And you don't have to worry about security. It's a huge security play.
What about bandwidth?
What's your pipe? Yeah, you're up there pretty high for a district, so pretty good. Most of them are a gig, 1 gig.
So Roxy, this actually will save us some of our server space, right? That we don't have to use and to set aside for this. So it frees up some for other things that we need to do on the district.
The actual servers are physical servers. Most of every other server we have is a virtual server. So these are kind of standalone servers. So we don't have to maintain those any longer. Those will go away.
So there's loss of infrastructure cost, right? That gets reallocated back into the fund. I wouldn't say that's a substantial amount of money, but it is something. Your biggest play with cloud is security, is securing the environment, which is pretty important right now.
And the fill over to a soft phone.
Yeah.
Would have been awesome to have this during the pandemic.
As I look down the agenda, there is a server that's being requested. Would the servers be able to be repurposed?
No, they're too old.
Those are specifically designed. Yeah. So the servers you have are
They're
pretty old and
they're
they're
really supposed to be Cisco servers. Just meant for that kind of stuff.
So Shane had talked in his presentation that if this was approved, it would be able to connect to our buses. Can you walk through the logistics of how that would work and how that would help us utilize the system that we just approved for him better?
so you can. So I wouldn't think of it as maybe Wi-Fi. Maybe that's where the phone system works the exact same as it is today. There's a phone that sits on the desk. It's plugged in by a wire. The data then transfers through the wire, through a switch, through a gateway. But instead of going to a physical box that's sitting in your data center, it gets routed to the internet, to a cloud server in Cisco's data center. It's all the same. It's the same thing. If I'm using a soft phone, I can connect to the Wi-Fi. It's on an app. So the app is using Wi-Fi to make a call using the district's phone number, not the cell phone number of the user. So if I make a call on the app, it shows up as my Garden City Public Schools phone number. It doesn't show my personal cell phone.
John, I think what you're asking is our Verizon service that we rated, and it's already paid for. We received the devices today, so those will go in the buses as soon as the maintenance guys. That's just a different service than this. That's through Verizon. And so it was approved with the E-rate stuff back in April, May. I can't remember the time frame when we approved all the E-rate. So we have that hardware in stock now. It came today actually, so that's the service that deals with Shane's concern you had with Shane.
Okay.
It's different than what we're discussing here.
Do you have any history of like the cloud server being down?
So no, you're probably, I mean, Cisco, the WebEx Cisco platform is in AT&T. I mean, it's in these extremely large So your server is going to live in that server farm as well. So it's an enterprise carrier grade solution. So it's 4 nines, so 99.99% available. The thing where you might have outages is either the internet coming into the buildings and that you can build redundancy in your internet pipes into the building. But you have failover back to the cell phone. I can make a call, I can receive a call on my cell phone if the internet is down. But I don't have a single customer that has said it's been down.
The cell phones work whether or not the
If you have cell,
applications are
so if you
running.
have a cell service, a data plan, most people have data plans on their cell phone. If I need to make an emergency 911 call and the building's down, the internet's down, the building's gone, I can pick up my phone. I can either dial 911 from my cell service, which most people will probably do because it's an emergency. But there's an option to go click the WebEx app, hit 911 and dial it from Garden City Public Schools. And it will just go out to your cell phone, your data plan. It won't go through your cell plan. It will go through the data plan. Just like you're browsing the internet on your phone.
Robin, I think to help with that question, Anthony and I were just talking, I don't think our internet was out more than maybe a couple of times this entire year. And it was all maintenance related from the company, not just out for no reason. Does that help kind of answer your question about reliability at least?
And you can make inter-office, if the internet goes down, you can still make inter-office calls. It just lives in a stale state, basically. You can't make outbound calls outside of the district, but if I need to call you and you're in the district and the internet is down, it will still route that call inter-office. It just won't go out.
Jessica, you said over the past, if I understood correctly, over the past 10 years, we've paid about 1.8 million.
Correct.
Okay. And with this, without inflation factor into this, we'd be looking at about 1.2 million. This 534 up front would be 3 years. And then we're talking 7 years of about $101,000. Again, inflation not factored in. We don't have any idea.
But you also gotta take out the one-time cost, right? So that $500,000 really is 300,000 reoccurring. So, I mean, it even gets, the gap gets bigger.
You're right, still about 1.2.
Jessica, you answered my question that I wanted to have more information on, so I'm not concerned about needing to postpone this decision now. You're able to give us that information, so thank you.
Any further questions?
Is there any protection versus the inflation? Where you expect, I mean.
I think we're past it. I do a lot of business with Cisco. The big inflation hit COVID, the years after COVID, and that was more inventory availability from Cisco. Those have all subsided. Everything's kind of back to normal. 3 to 4% maybe at most. Long-term agreements help. Doing a 3-year prepaid is helpful, but I don't think anybody can guarantee a flat 15-year budget. But I would probably 4%, 3 to 4%. Well, after the 3 years, and then I would just estimate doing 3-year agreements moving forward.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is that a possibility with Cisco to do another longer term agreement?
Yeah, I would always stick, the sweet spot's 3 years. Cause you just never know. I wouldn't go longer than, especially at really vital and security products. I would not go longer than 5 years because another product will come out that will be better than the product that's there. So I'd always stay in the 3-year. So you can go another 3 years, you can go annually after the first 3 years, you can go 5 years. I mean, it's totally flexible at that point. But the sweet spot's that 3-year prepaid, what it is. It's the biggest discount.
That's about $100,000 for inflation.
Nixon. Roughly. Okay, and you have a good Cisco rep now. Not me, not me.
All right, any further questions for me? Thanks.
Mr. President, you ready for a motion, or would you like a motion?
Yes,
I'll make the motion that we go ahead with the system, purchase the system as presented.
motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve the purchase of the Cisco WebEx Cloud Calling Telephone Service, $536,906.95. All in favor, please raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to does anybody need to take like a 5-minute break?
Yep.
Please. I make a motion that we take a 5-minute break. Good? All right. Okay, we'll call the meeting back to order. Move on to item I4. The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the purchase of the backend server for the SWC Mass Communication Project, the Novo, in the amount of $22,593. Roxy's up again.
So at the March 4th board meeting, you guys approved the safety and security plan. And that plan was adding SWC's mass communication project or mass communication program to Florence Wilson and Bernadine Sitz, I believe. So in that proposal, there is an agreement that says we will provide a server. So I come to you this evening with the server that meets the specs for what they require, and then also gives us lots of room for expansion should we move forward, when we move forward to other buildings with the SWC project. Available funds are in the security account line item. This was part of the overall bid, the overall plan. So we have the funds in security. Little fancy presentation, just asking you to go ahead and approve or consider approval of the server that meets the needs of the plan that was already approved.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we move forward and purchase the back-end server for the SWC Mass Communications Project in the amount of $22,593.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the proposal as presented. All in favor, please raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you.
Very much.
Item I5, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve a quote for capturing kids' hearts in the amount of $26,650. Dr. Rob, you're up.
So this is an SEL curriculum that is currently being used at 3 of our buildings, including Buffalo Jones, Jenny Wilson, and Bernadine Sitz Intermediate Center. I'm not for sure how long it's been implemented, but I do know that it was implemented last year. And we recently had a presentation by Jenny Wilson where they were recognized for this SEL curriculum. I did have the contract reviewed by legal counsel and they have approved it. So just asking to approve the proposed quote.
Do we have any other campuses that are interested in using this program, or just the 3?
These are just the 3 that have shown interest. The majority of the other ones are using the Leader in Me. And the secondary campuses will be using the CCC framework that's currently implemented at the high school. And we're looking at implementing it all the way from middle school all the way through the high school. GC Achieve also implements the Leader in Me.
President, I move to approve the purchase of capturing kids' hearts as presented for $26,650.
I'll second it.
It's been moved or motion and seconded to approve capturing kids' hearts as presented. All in favor, please raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Item I6, the Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the renewal of workers' compensation insurance for fiscal year 25 RAS in the amount of $307,939. Jessica Donovan.
Okay, a little bit of this was in Minute with Mike, a couple weeks ago, but if you can see that. RES is our work comp provider. Their rates actually decreased, but because of the amount of claims we had, our mod actually increased from 0.89 to 0.94. So not a huge increase, but the overall premiums up $7,500 from last year to this year, with a total all-in cost of $307,939. We are going to bid it out next year just to make sure we're being competitive. It hasn't been bid out for a couple of years, so Just need, it runs July 1st to June 30th, so it is kind of past due. So if we could get action.
And in your notes here, this is just roughly about a $7,500 increase.
Yes. And RAS is really good to work with, as far as, customer support on all of our work comp claims.
Mr. President, I make a motion that we approve the work compensation insurance for fiscal 25 with RAS in the amount of $307,939.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the workers' comp insurance for fiscal year 25. Any other questions? All those in favor, please raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carries. Thank you. Move on to I-7, property and casualty insurance discussion.
Okay, this one is just more so needing some direction from the board. Our property and casualty insurance, we are currently paid through to the end of 2024 with EMC. So as far, like, we don't have to do anything until that point. Trent Specht with Iron Insurance went ahead and brought us the renewal for that. The EMC renewal is $680,000. But like I said, not until January 1st. The changes and why he brought this to our attention now is because EMC has taken losses for like the last 15 years. So they've made some drastic changes into their plan. The main one being the deductible. So every time that we have to turn in a claim per building / location, it's a 1% deductible of the coverage on that property. So for example, if we have a storm hit the high school, it's insured at 113 million. So the deductible would be 1.1 million just on the high school. If that same storm hit Horace Good, that's insured at 47 million, that's another 470,000 deductible. So each individual building has a deductible. So the risk is drastically increasing. That's why he kind of brought it to our attention. They also have implemented a difference on how they do the roofs. So the roofs, if they're 15 years old or less, they will replace them at replacement cost. The 15-year to 35 years actual cash value. And if they're older than 35 years old, which none of ours are, there's no coverage on those. It is a year-to-year renewal. So much cheaper option as opposed to the state pool where the premium is 1.15 million. We can start that anytime and would be prorated. And then we would get a refund from EMC if we chose to go ahead and term that before the end of the year. The deductible on that's a 250,000 wind, hail per occurrence. So same situation, we pay 250,000 for the high school and Horace Good together. Roof replacements are all at replacement cost, regardless of the age. It is a 3-year commitment. So it's a little, just different things for you guys to weigh. Certainly don't need action now, unless you are wanting to immediately go to the pool. So the options would be to continue with EMC until the end of the year and then make a decision at that time, or to switch to the pool anytime between now and then. And that's all I have on that. Like I said, I can give you try to give you more information, or you can just sit on that.
So in the long-term building plan that Shane created, and we will never have a roof that will get to that.
Not to the 35, like we will get in between that 15 to where it goes to actual cash value.
How often do we have a claim? Like, do we have a claim every year?
So I asked Trent that when he brought this to us, and he said it had been like over 10 years, and then Gertrude Walker happened. So I don't want to say anything.
So you mentioned in the state pool, $250,000 deductible for wind and hail events. Is that same deductible amount for things like fire or what happened to Gertrude Walker? Or is there a different deductible for other types of events?
On Trent's information that he gave us, it just specified the wind and hail, so I am not sure on that. I would assume that it's a similar per occurrence, but I can get more information on that. I think he kind of just used that maybe as an example. I do have a see if there's anything on that. There's nothing really specific on this, but I can definitely find out on that.
What's our annual premium right now?
Oh, it is, it didn't increase a whole lot, the 680,000. I want to say it was around I think it was like around 620, so maybe like a $60,000 increase if we stay with EMC. But again, that's not till January. We're paid up through then already. So if we chose to stay with EMC, we wouldn't have anything due until January. If we choose to go to the pool before then, we'll get a refund, but have to pay the larger amount.
So be roughly 1.4 million over 3 years increased in premium. Is that correct? Does EMC do more than a 1 year? Or do they do it year to year?
Just a year to year.
It seems really odd that we didn't have any claims in 10 years, even on a roof. Like, did we maybe just not file claims?
Well, that's what I wondered, if it was under the deductible, if they just didn't turn them in. So if there was just patchwork or something from storms that wasn't substantial enough, they just didn't turn it in. But I can find that out for sure too, the history of our claims.
Jessica, I would say, I am very much in favor of having Iron Insurance come, because I know they did a great presentation for us at the church when we had to reevaluate ours. And so they had a lot of answers to a lot of questions that we're all going to have in regards to the wind hail deductible, why all that's happening like that. So that might be a good thing for them to come to the next meeting with.
Yep, we can definitely get Trent in here, and we can schedule that the next meeting. That works for you guys. That's good.
Yeah. Just having a conversation with the superintendent of a different school district, a smaller school district, about this, and they were, and I may not be very correct on my thoughts here, but I believe they said you can look at options of, I don't know if you call it reinsurance, but it's basically like insurance related to the deductible. And it's like another cost. So if you are going to this, if we stayed with this plan where we have a high deductible, you kind of have a secondary policy. I could have totally misunderstood that conversation altogether, but I do think that there may be other options that exist that would be helpful to explore and look into prior to having Iron back. So we can kind of look at that, and if we can look at options like that in conjunction with this kind of coverage.
So would you like Trent to come and bring different options, or you want us to investigate different options before he comes?
Yes.
Yes. No, I guess I would like to, and I can make a call. I can try to get a little bit more background on what it is I'm talking about, and share whatever I find out with you guys. But I would like to, so I have the administration
check out other
look
options.
into other options that can be, are there other options that can go along with this, to kind of give us a full insurance package?
You say like to supplement the deduct?
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is you pay a premium annually, and you're essentially insuring against if you have a claim and have to do that 1% in the insurance carrier, so when you don't have a claim. So.
Andy, I can answer a little bit of that real quick. I know at the church, we just changed our insurances and we did a deductible buy down policy. And that's what you're referencing there. And so that would be something that Trent could put together in a package. I think our administration has a lot of other things to do. I think we let Trent do that. And so that he can manage that and give him some direction and let Jessica and everybody else kind of do their other things and let him deal with that.
That
I
sounds
can
great.
let him know that we'd like to see that as an option when he
Okay.
comes.
Thank you, Nathan.
Any other questions for Jessica?
Does EMC, I mean, you might ask EMC if they have that option, because obviously they're the ones with the high deductible.
Okay.
Nothing else? Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item I8. The Board of Education is asked to consider and approve the intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate for 2025.
Okay, maybe more information than you wanted, but I'm just going to give a little background. So the revenue neutral rate is a rate that the county gave us to collect the same amount of funds that we did this last year. I maybe shouldn't have picked purple. It's kind of hard to read, but our assessed valuation for the general fund only decreased down from 416 million to 391 million. So you'll see later, the same number of mills in the general fund, it's the 20, will generate fewer funds this year. On the other hand, other funds are actually, we went up 10 million, and so you'll see that the same number of mills will generate more funds on those. The Senate Bill number 1 just passed like June 16th, 17th-ish in there. Before that, our valuation had actually increased over 11.4 million. So I was pretty excited until that passed, and then it increased the exemption on residential homes from 47-ish thousand up to 70,000. So, and I'm not sure if those are exact, but it increased that. So that's why general fund went down, is all the residential areas. We also have to reduce our assessed valuation when we do the budget by the TIF, the taxation incentive financing, and the RHID, which basically the neighborhood revitalization. So I have to take that off of our total assessed valuation when using it for the budget. And that also increased from 27.8 million to 33.9 million. So not only in the general fund did our valuation go down, but the neighborhood revitalization went up. So kind of a double whammy there. The decrease to our valuation makes it a little difficult to stay revenue neutral and keep up with inflation and salary increases. The mill levy, just a little bit of history. Fiscal year 23, we were at 49.4. My understanding is that that was the intent for last year, but due to some publication issues, we had to stay at the revenue neutral rate of the 46.588 mills. This year, for fiscal year 25, the revenue neutral rate is 45.218 mills. The intent to exceed form is set at 50 mills. We don't have to do 50 mills, but if we notify the county of our intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate, we have to put a mill levy on there. So I just put 50 because that is the max. If we only put 49, we couldn't go over that. So a little inflated there just to have some room when building the budget. So putting it all together, like I said, you'll see the same 20 mills in the general fund is going to generate almost $500,000 less. Capital outlay, just rounding the fiscal year 24 was just a hair under the 8 mills. We'll do the 8 mills again this year. It will actually generate 80,000, around 80,000 additional funds. The LOB fund, supplemental general, that's where you actually have the room to move your mill levy. So fiscal year 24, because of missing the exceeding the revenue neutral rate, we ended the year at 12.18 mills, generated 5.6 million. I used the 50 mills as a high point. So if we went all the way up to 50 mills, we'd be at 15.6 mills in the LOB. That would generate 7.3 million, increase of 1.7 million there. So, and then the bond and interest is kind of irrelevant, left it alone, just to make the payments there. So the net increase is 1.3 million. I went back and figured if we would have exceeded the revenue neutral rate last year, and stayed at that 49.6, it would have only, this proposal would only be like a $19,000 increase. So just kind of getting us back to where the intention was last year. What does it mean for taxpayers? Market value of a home, I just used 200,000. The new exemption is the 75,000. So the net value to be assessed is the 125. The assessment factor on all residential is 11.5%. So taxpayers will pay on 14,375 assessed valuation on a $200,000 home. General fund, that $20 mills, they'll pay $287.50. All other funds, again, I just used the 50 to stay consistent. There's no exemption on the other funds, so it's they would pay $690. So a total of $977.50. And last year, it was on the same scenario, it was $611.52. So an increase of just under $80 if we had to go up to the 50 mils. And then that's all I had. But we just need direction for the intent. You're not approving the actual 50 mils or anything like that. You're just approving to notify the county clerk of our intent to exceed that revenue neutral rate of the 45.
President, I move that we consider and approve the intent to exceed the revenue neutral rate for fiscal 25.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve notification of the revenue neutral rate. Any other questions?
Should we state the mill levy amount?
It's
If the revenue neutral rate in fiscal year 25, the proposed mill levy rate shall be 51.
50. Yeah, that's the high side. You're not approving the mills. You're just improving the intent to go above the 45 revenue neutral rate. Yeah. So you'll approve the actual mill levy that's assessed when I bring back the budget in early September. It'll have the approval at that time. And we'll also do a revenue neutral rate hearing that same day prior to the regularly scheduled board meeting.
So the motion just needs to say to exceed the revenue neutral.
That we just have the intent to exceed it, yep.
Up to a certain amount or anything.
Yes, yep. No set dollar, but just the intent to exceed it, yeah.
Thank you.
I just have one comment for, I don't have the appetite to raise the mill levy. I don't think anybody does, anybody's taxes going up, but I just wanted out there and noted that because of what happened last year is now why we're having to do this to try to catch up again. So hopefully, people understand that. That's all I have.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, I would make a comment just to add on to Randy is, we vote to do this every year. And basically it just gives us some flexibility in our budget. It doesn't mean that we're gonna go to 50. It doesn't go to any number. It just basically gives us flexibility to work the budget how we need it.
Do we need to remake a motion or? It's been motioned. Is there a second? Okay, been a motion and a second to send notification. All in favor, please raise your left hand. Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go on to item J, open board discussions. Mark, we'll just start with you down there.
Come on, man.
I was just gonna go.
I really don't have much say in it. I mean, hey, Insurance is really an interesting concept there, and what we're looking at. I do miss of course, we're not in school, but I do miss the school presentations, the kids coming in. That's always great to do. But, and then on the taxes, yeah, everybody wants to pay less taxes, but on the other hand, what happened last year is unfortunate, and we're sitting in a situation, and as John explained, we do this every year. You have to have the flexibility. I mean, there's a timing issue here. And if we don't do it, we don't have that flexibility. So I hope people understand that, and we'll do our best to keep the budget where it's, we're not raising the mill when we have to, or if we have to at all.
I would say tonight, like every meeting, I'm just amazed at all the things that I don't know yet. And the complexity of running a school district. It's much more complicated than people think. And along with the mill levy, we have a delicate dance of trying to keep the teachers happy and get them to a level that is pleasing for them. And unfortunately, we don't sell products that we can get money. We just have to get that money from taxpayers. So trying to keep teachers happy and keep taxpayers happy is not an easy thing to do. And so we'll do our best to keep that rate as low as possible while still improving the pay and benefits that we're giving to the teachers.
I just wanna, Jackie mentioned it earlier, but I know we approved the negotiated agreement tonight. And I know that Randy and Jackie put a tremendous amount of time into that, as well as Jessica and Josh and Drew. And I just wanted to say thank you. Because that is kind of outside the scope of normal meetings, and you guys have a lot of meetings, so I appreciate your time on that. Otherwise, there was just a lot of, first of the year business that we did tonight. A lot of stuff that we do annually at every first year meeting of the first fiscal year. So appreciate all the hard work that went into preparing all that stuff so we can kick off fiscal 25. I'd also like to congratulate Randy and Andy as new president and vice president of the Board of Education. So
I don't have a whole lot to everyone together. All the information that we put over tonight.
I want to thank John and Jackie for the leadership they've given this board over the last year. I think you guys have done a really great job. I appreciate it, all the additional time and energy that you spent to hold those two positions over what's asked of all of us board members. So thank you. That's all I got.
Nathan, you're up.
All right. Well, huge thanks for letting me be able to zoom in on this and spend some time with my family and all of that. I want to say thanks to just all the leadership, as it's been said, with the things that have gone on with the contract. And I know that was a lot of hours. Appreciate all that were involved in that, and definitely appreciate the leadership of John as well as Jackie, and they're leading us into the next things that are going on. But definitely just want to say thanks to everybody. Appreciate this and looking forward to a great year that's coming up as we look forward to the next school year and all the things that are going on. So huge thanks to everybody.
Yeah, a lot of great things going on, getting ready for the next year. The policies are being updated. They'll be on the agenda on the 22nd. We do have board retreat on the 17th. Negotiated agreement being passed at a 84% rate is huge. Due diligence on your part. Thank you, John and Jackie, for your leadership on the board. Congratulations to Randy and Andy for the new situations, but definitely safety and security on the cameras and the calling, and definitely all of those. Insurance is going to be huge, and it weighs on us, and we're going to have to make some good decisions moving forward. So academically, we're getting ready for new administrators, new to staff, new to the district, new to USD-457. So excited about where we're going, getting all those things completed in July, getting ready for August. So excited about that.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. I'm honored and I'm humbled to serve as the president. I know it's a lot of work. I saw the work you guys put in and I thank you both for that. It's a lot of meetings, a lot of stuff, and I appreciate it and I respect it. Thank you. Like if we talked negotiations, like I said, I'm positive that we're moving in the right direction with them, and I think we're all in the same boat and we're rowing in the same direction. Yeah, school will be here before we know it. It'll be here and we'll be at it again. So appreciate everybody's hard work again and everything you do. Next board meeting is scheduled on July 17th at 5 PM in the board meeting room of the Education Support Center, 1205 Fleming Street. Other than that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, please raise your left hand. Opposed, same. Motion carried.